Heaven and hell start right now. You exist in heaven and hell, right? You don't go to those places after you die. You resonate with them in the moment, and you will go to those places after you die in accordance with what you resonate with, right? You have to live in heaven, right? If you want to go there. This is assuming your abundance. This is how you ascend, right? Now, that sounds very, ethereal. It sounds very, I don't know, something like a guru would say or something like that. But look, when you talk about these concepts, there's so much data and so many like little points all over. It's hard to try and distill it down into just simple words without using this metaphorical language. But I'm going to try and break it down for you, right? So think about this. You live through your mind, through your perceptions, and you exist almost in thought, right? What you perceive is your reality. All right. Now, most people live in a state of hell, and some people live in a state of heaven mentally. And you will know a tree by its fruits, as Jesus said. So, how do you live in a state of heaven? Well, you live in abundance. You assume your eternity. All right. Now, what does that look like? What would you do if you have abundance and eternity? Well, you would be like a child, just like Jesus said. You would come to the Lord like a child. All right. Now, I like using the Bible as kind of a way to learn. I'm not saying it's the only way you have to learn all this. It's just the way that I came to understand these things. So when I talk about the Bible, it's full of a lot of wisdom. There's others. I like to use science too, and we'll use some science to discuss this. Now, the Bible talks about, this idea of being refined, right? And that's how you become more pure, and you end up in heaven. You become, pure gold. Now, this refinement process is very interesting because you start at a lower state of a unpure metal. Okay, and these are people living in hell or in resonance with evil, right? Now, what does this mean? Think of this. Most people are taking shortcuts in life. They're trying to get the quick reward and the shortcut. And those people are living in hell, right? Now, these are people who are tormented and they're traumatized. They're in pain. And what do? Is they just live and wallow in this pain. How did they do that? Well, they numb themselves to just keep existing in it. They watch TV on average for 6 hours a day. That's what the studies show. They drink alcohol. They spend their time doing drugs. A lot of people do drugs, and they, waste their time away and do whatever it is that makes them that short dopamine hit. All right. And what do people in abundance do? People who are, full of, life that exists in heaven. They are generally happy. They are laughing. They're full of joy. They are someone who they don't gossip. They don't say negative things all the time. They don't lie. There's no need to lie. Why would you lie? You don't need to cover anything up. You're an honest person, right? You have no need to take those shortcuts because you'll be okay. You have self-reassurance in yourself because you have everything, right? So how do you get to the state of abundance? Well, to start with, this is the science part. Let's talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You have a pyramid, right? the bottom, base needs. You need very essential things. You need to use a bathroom. You need water. You need sleep. You need food. You work your way up. You need shelter. You need some type of social interaction. You need to have a place where you fit into society. And very last, you start focusing on, at the very top of the pyramid, more spiritual matters. And you start thinking about what the universe is. Who am I? Who is society? How do I fit better into it? How do I make my environment better, right? Now, here's the thing. If you are in a state of hell and you're in a state of scarcity, you're going to be stuck at those lower base needs, right? Now, this is pretty well understood across religions. There's different approaches taken to this. Some say, don't worry about wealth. Don't worry about abundance because it's already within you, right? Which is, in a sense, true, right? And then there's other perspectives that if you tame those base needs, then you can make time for yourself so that you are able to grow. Now, here's a real simple example. If you were a slave, literally a slave to another human, you would have no time, no energy, and no emotional stability to think about anything else besides your momentary pain. All right? So the beast system is, in essence, slavery. You have to get out of a slave mindset and into a ruler mindset, which is what you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be a co-heir to a throne with God or with Christ or whoever, right? So how do you go from these things? Well, you can do it on this plane we are in here, on a physical plane. It can be a tool, or it can be kind of this handrail or teachable way to move up, right? If you had abundance. Now, here's the thing. It's not just having, abundance for yourself in order to truly ascend. You have to have abundance. It spills over that you have so much abundance mentally that you give it to other people. And this can be in the form of, it could be money, it could be your time, your energy, etc. And now, here's the thing. Let's say you're at the bottom, right? You're at the base needs, and all you can think about is your pain and your suffering and your wallowing because you have insufficient needs met. Whew, that's a tough place to be. Take responsibility to begin with. You may be out there struggling financially, something like that. All right, this is a pragmatic way of looking at how to ascend spiritually. Okay, and you're not gonna be able, some people, to go up unless you address these things at the bottom and you surrender. You die on your cross, right? Your daily cross. This daily cross can be, for some people, their immediate literal situation. So let's say that you're someone who has to work a 9 to 5 and you are unable to spend any time reading or learning or thinking and meditating about what your situation is and how to go higher, right? Because you're trapped in that slave mindset, literally working away your life for other people. What do you got to do? Step 1, you got to acknowledge it and stop numbing your pain, right? You have to work, make a little space of time, and you're going to feel pain in that time. You're going to feel your suffering because of the state, the vibration that you are in, right? And you're going to do 8 hours a day. Say it's 10, 12 total because you got to eat, sleep, and all this. And you might have like 4 or 5 hours at the end of your day to be able to do anything to improve your situation. You have to first, most people get home 9 to 5. First thing they do, turn on TV, drink a 6-pack of beer, smoke some weed, or whatever. Don't do that. There's many reasons why, but this is simple. Instead, do anything but that. Besides numbing, you have to feel that pain, right? You have to sit. If all you can do is just sit in a dark, quiet room and think, do that. It is much better, because you will start to get clarity. You'll start to have, a true understanding, because the universe, your mind, is trying to tell you things. That pain is a tool. It is trying to teach you, and it's meant to move you out of the spot that you're in. And if all you do is numb it, you're just going to keep wallowing in it, and you're not going to be able to change it. But you have to use that pain as a motivator, and then you have to start thinking about what could be better, right? What could be, a higher plane of existence for you to live on, to move up that Maslow's hierarchy, right? Now, once you start doing that, you start meditating, you start thinking, you want to then reassess. And maybe for you, you have to figure out, maybe the way I'm living life and I'm doing these things is not getting me anywhere. Maybe I need to go and change what I am doing. All right, change the fruits that I'm bearing. So that may be in the form of getting higher education to improve your work situation, or completely changing the direction that you are even working, maybe changing fields. Now, it could also be you want to start a business, something like this, right? This will start to become apparent to you. But if you sit there when you get home at night and you watch 4 hours of TikTok, you are never going to change. You are fucked. All right? So start off there, right? And how do you, here's some cool tricks. You can hypercharge this. You can get the most out of it. And here's how you do it. You have to resonate with God, with the higher planes. You want a direct line to God. It's his creation. It's his nature. Literally. If you go out, instead of sitting there and drinking your Bud Light or whatever you drink at night. And look, I've done plenty of drinking. I've done plenty of numbing. I understand these things. Maybe sometimes you just have to do it sometimes to keep from killing yourself. Because that's what can happen when you get to the very bottom of the hell state. Is if you've numbed yourself so much, but the pain has built up beyond what is numbable. I get it, right? But you have to wean yourself off of it. Do this instead. Literally go into God's creation where you can match its vibration, and your subconscious will bring in a higher dimensional information to you. This sounds very, very, hippie-ish, but I'm telling you, there's very scientific, pragmatic reasons. When you go out into nature, your cortisol levels decrease. You get better oxygen. You get vitamin D from the sun. You have a lot of benefits. You'll have clarity. And here's the thing. If you want to resonate, you have to act like an antenna. You have to get rid of all of the noise and the information that is blocking out the subtler vibration and, information that can come into you. This is what I do. At least once a week, go out into nature and try to sit for a couple of hours. Do not have any numbing agents with you. Leave your phone away from you. Have a good night's rest. And if you can, this is what the real masters of religion used to do. They would fast. They would want no distractions, no positive, type of, numbers at all. And they would go out into the wilderness. Jesus went out into the wilderness for 40 days and fasted, right? John the Baptist did this. Even the metaphorical stories of the Jews going out into the wilderness when they left Egypt, And they had to stay there for a while, 40 years, right? And they had to shift their consciousness, right? That's what you need to do. And you will reflect out in that space, and you will get away from the people. This is another thing, because people, you will match their vibration whoever you are around. You will be alone out in the wilderness, literally, and you will sit there and you will allow your pain to come to you, because you will be out there. You'll be anxious, you'll be bored, you'll like, I don't want to be here, this is uncomfortable, this is boring. But if you sit out there and you force yourself to sit there, when you made yourself a little bit of time, prepare yourself for this so that you're the most rested you can be and the most focused that you can be, you'll start changing the pattern that you're in. And things will come to you like a signal. It's always been coming to you, but you've been blocking it out and you can't accept it. So once you're out there, ponder, how do I change? How do I become a higher person of abundance? How do I stop being so negative? And once you do this, your life can change. You will start to change. And it can take time, because here's the thing. You do this thing that psychologists called trenching. When you stick to a certain pattern or a certain mindset, you literally create neural pathways in your brain that all the information will pass through, because you've built up such a bundle of neurons that that's where all of your information, your thoughts, your brain waves will flow through. Okay? That takes time to unwind. And here's the thing. You on a weekly basis, let's say this is your church, okay, going out into the wilderness, sit, think for a couple hours, and allow those bundles to unwind and create new neural pathways so that you can change your thinking. As a man thinketh, so he is, right? You have to allow that hell experience to burn in you and push you away from where you are so that you can go into abundance. This is an extremely practical step. Start off with this and we can go from there. Tell me what you think.